For years we've been told that without huge ranges, electric cars just aren't the future. They're just not realistic. People just won't want them. Well, it turns out this is all a load of baloney. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for supporting us on Patreon as well. I really appreciate your support. Patreon supporters, thank you so much. Really couldn't do this without you. I'll put a link in the description below to our Patreon account. If you want to jump on there and support the channel, even like $2, even any amount would be fantastic. Anyway, the great news here, right? Apparently, over half of US daily trips are less than 3 miles. Now, I recently had an argument with someone saying that once we have robo-taxis, whether they're provided by Tesla or I don't care who they're provided by, but once we have them, the cost of taking an Uber will come down by about 1/10. That's what the industry is predicting. I'm not saying that. That's what the industry is saying. On average, the cost will go down to about 1/10 of the current costs. Now, people are saying the reason robo-taxis don't work now is because the market's saturated. Well, you know what? I've taken a few Uber trips lately over the last 6 months. My goodness, they are so freaking expensive. It's cheaper to hire a car, literally. Here in Australia, in the 3 different cities that I've tried Ubers at on multiple different days, it's literally cheaper for me to go hire a car. It's still very expensive to get an Uber. But the point here I'm trying to make is that if most journeys taken on a daily basis are less than 3 miles, well, is the answer even a car? Well, to me, it's either a robo-taxi or some sort of electric mobility, electric scooters, electric bicycles, electric tuk-tuks, whatever you want to take. Doesn't really matter. My point is here, maybe we don't even need electric cars, or at least a lot of us anyway. And if you want to boil this down, we definitely don't need vehicles with super long ranges in order to transition to EVs. We just need EVs we can afford. Evernex says for years we've been told that the limited range of EVs is a big barrier to adoption. But is it really? Certainly range is invariably the second thing after charging that the EV curious ask about. And most of us have had conversations with skeptics who've exaggerated notions of how much range they need. He says, Chris Morris says a friend of his, Charles Morris says that a friend of his says that they need a minimum range of 500 miles. Yeah. Sure you do. Various studies have found that the majority of real-world car trips are well within the range of a typical EV. A 2016 MIT study concluded that current EVs could meet the needs of about 90% of drivers, at a total cost no greater than that of internal combustion engine vehicles. That, of course, includes the cost of ownership, the cost of driving the vehicle, the cost of charging, etc. Remember, this was 2016, when few EVs could muster as much as 200 miles of range. A new study for the Bureau of Transportation Statistics adds some interesting data to this debate. The Maryland Transportation Institute analyzed an anonymized national panel of mobile device data from multiple sources. And they found that in 2021, 52% of all trips in the US using all models of transportation were for distances of less than 3 miles. 28% of trips were less than 1 mile. 28% were less than 1 mile. My goodness, just walk it. And 2% were for greater than 50 miles. Only 2% of trips on a daily basis in the US, on average, are for more than 50 miles. A trip was defined as a movement that included a stay of longer than 10 minutes at a location away from home. The trips included driving, rail, transit, and even air travel. A weighting procedure expands the sample of millions of mobile devices, so the results are representative of the entire population in a nation, state, or country, the authors write, and they didn't disclose the fact that they sneakily monitored hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, that happens. It's America, isn't it? After all. Anyway, obviously, drivers' use cases vary. I mean, for example, I'm a good one. I definitely need an EV with a longer range than, well, 100 miles for sure. I drive to my boys, as you guys know, my boys' races, and they race all over the state. So I definitely need more range than that, but certainly, can I make do with a car with a range of, say, 270 miles? Yeah, absolutely. That's why I bought one. a car with that range. I'd prefer more, but it will still do the job. This study, regardless of those extreme cases like me, results in the study show that this is a very small subset of US and probably of Australian drivers as well. So current EVs should have plenty of range for the vast majority of car buyers. Furthermore, considering this still high cost of batteries, automakers may want to consider offering models with less range and therefore lower price tags. So Tesla's move, for example, to provide the new Tesla Model Y, the structural model, massive weight loss, much more efficient battery pack, and yet lower range. What gives? Well, obviously they recognize what most of us don't seem to be aware of. Most of us don't need a car with super long range. It isn't really necessary, but we do need a car that's cheaper, that's more efficient, that's lighter. And more than anything else, we simply need EVs. Now, of course, you may not fit in this. Probably if you're watching this, maybe the majority of your drives are 20 miles, 30 miles. That said, even if that's the case, that probably means that 95% of your trips are below 50 miles a day, for example, right? That would mean pretty much every EV currently on sale would actually fit your use needs. So what do we need now? Do we really need EVs with 500 miles plus range? Or do we really need just more EVs at more affordable prices? Now, Johnny says this: I drive 55 miles to work, 5 to 10 miles around lunch, and 55 miles home every day. 110 miles of that is interstate travel, doing 80 miles an hour when I can. My 2018 Model 3 is perfect for this daily use. I charge up to 90% and get home with 30 to 40% depending on weather. I've traveled to see my sister. She's 300 miles away. That's a 600-mile round trip every month or so. There are Tesla ships 30 minutes and repeat. No problems. And I'm on the more extreme side of daily use at 30,000 miles per year. Electricity is cheap here in Nashville, Tennessee. Lots of hydro and nuclear. The vast majority of people can use an EV over internal combustion engines. We need to work on production and price right now. One of the great things to realize is the fact that, well, Tesla's supercharger network is amazing. Am I saying you should buy a Tesla? No, not at all. Because, as you'd be aware, Tesla is about to retrofit their chargers with CCS adapters. Essentially, the entire global Tesla network is going to be available eventually to all electric car drivers. And that, my friends, will mean that tens of thousands of EV chargers will be available to all of us. The future really is looking bright when it comes to electric cars and chargers. And you know what? It won't be very long before we can actually start breathing clean air. And I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.